For starters, I understand most of you played around with this software already. Yes, so you have some level of familiarity with it. Okay, so I'm going to go through as if you guys have never seen this. This is going to be my spiel. It's always been my spiel. So just bear with me if it seems redundant, if you already know what I'm doing. Just play along. So what you'll notice is that on the screen you have two tabs on either side of the board. Now these tabs are your toolbars. This is where you're going to find all your tools for the panel board. So one thing I would like for you to know is that these are fully adjustable and they're independent of each other. So you could set this one as low as you want, set the other one as high as you want. Anytime you touch this, it'll bring this up. If you touch it on the other side, it'll close that one and open up this side. So as you see, this popped up with a virtual keyboard. You could also adjust this so that it doesn't get in your way. Like that. And you close the toolbar at any point by hitting the X. That's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to go through the different tools that we have to use. You'll see that the first button is basically a tool to minimize what you see on your toolbar. Typically, you'll want to leave this because it gives you the most array of different tools that you can use. The next tool is the Settings tab, and Settings tab will bring up exactly that. With this, you can define by default what happens when you bring up a said marker or highlighter or the different other toolbars that we'll get into later. So let's not get too sidetracked with that, but that's just for your default settings whenever you populate one of these tools. The next one is the X, that's self-explanatory. The line tool is basically exactly what it says. It's a line tool designed to let you go point A to point B. This is going here, this is going there, and you can change the type of line that you use depending on which option you select. The following one is the shapes. With this one, you select the shape that you want, and it'll just put it out on the board. And I will get to the erase all later. The mouse is exactly the mouse. It'll let you click anything on the board as if you were using a mouse click, and as such, it'll let you open up programs and do anything you would with a regular mouse. The next three tools are the markers. As you can see, there's different colors. So if you select any of them, it'll pop up with the type of marker that you want to use, be it thin, dotted, semi-dotted, and then a thicker marker, I'm sorry. So you can see that it basically just works pretty easily like that. Same for the red and the blue, okay? One thing I'd like to point out before we get any further is that this board supports multi-touch, and by multi-touch it means that you can have not only two people, you can actually have three people up on the board at the same time. So if you have, let's say, students that need to work at the same time on the board, you can set them up with portions of the board so that they can either solve their problems, elaborate on whatever problems they're working on, so on and so forth. The next toolbar is a green toolbar, marker, so that it falls in the same category as these. The special shapes one, I don't know that you would typically use. It's exactly as it says. It's nice and colorful. So if you have somebody that you want to say, this person deserves accolades for doing such a great job, you have that. The next one is the highlighter. As you can see, the highlighter comes in 3 different colors and in 2 different widths. So you have your thick and your thin. And again, this is just as simple as highlighting or selecting which one you want, and it'll highlight any text. If you see, I can highlight this right here, and that happens. The next toolbar is going to be for shapes. Now, you have to make sure that to use this tool, you select a marker first, so that the tool for the shapes knows what you're trying to do. So what this does is it lets you
get as close to a shape as you can, and then it closes it off for you, and it tries to figure out what you're drawing. So as you can see, my triangles are terrible. It's trying to figure out what I'm drawing, and that is why I hadn't selected it. So if you close it off, it makes the, yeah, it's basically what it is. So if you enable that, it fixes it for you. So you can draw all types of things. My circles are particularly gross, but it fixes it for me. So that's that. The next cool thing you can do with this is a font recognizer. What this will do is, let's say I have terrible handwriting. What this will do with the following tool is it'll try to determine what I'm typing and bring it up on screen and put it into font. So if you have students that are trying to spell something or trying to write something and you can't understand what they're writing, you can use that to clean it up and put it into a font. The next tool is a eraser. Self-explanatory. The eraser comes in different sizes, and you can see it goes from thinnest to thicker, and that's that. The next one is the virtual keyboard that I displayed earlier. That's in case you are far from the computer and you want to type something into, let's say, Internet Explorer. You want to go to a website. You can use this as a virtual keyboard instead of walking all the way over there. It's not that far of a walk, but some people don't want to walk. So you have that at your disposal. The next button is a virtual whiteboard. This brings up a whiteboard, and you can use all these tools in here as if it were just a whiteboard. Now this you could save and bring up later if you wish. It'll bring this up. And as you can see, I'm using this to type and then hit save. Now that's saved, and I could bring it up at a later time. If you want to get rid of the whiteboard, you hit the button again. Whiteboard disappears, brings you back to your desktop or whatever you were working on prior to this. The following tool is an erase all function. So if you have multiple things spread out across the board and you want to delete everything, you hit the erase all button. It'll wipe the board clean. The following button will undo your last move. If you didn't want to delete everything, you just press that and it'll go through. I don't remember how many times you can go back, but I do know that it is pretty bountiful, so you shouldn't have a problem with that. Let me see. I'm going to bypass the other one. This is a magnifying glass, and the magnifying glass is exactly that. So you can pretty much move this around, and it'll magnify everything that's on the screen. I have never seen anybody use this, so this is up to you guys if you wish to. I've never really seen a use for the magnifying glass because it's digital magnification. It makes everything pretty choppy at best. So that's at your discretion if you would like to use that. The spotlight feature will let you create a spotlight so that if you want your students to look at something and something only, you can bring this up and modify it to your liking. So if you want them to only observe one point, you do that, and that's all they can look at. To get out of this, you just hit the X. The next one is the blind feature, and the blind is exactly what it's called, a blind. It'll let you adjust, if it stops something, it'll let you adjust how much of the screen they can view. And again, this is adjustable at 4 points, so you see these tabs. Those tabs indicate that's where you can pull or drag from. So you could block as much as you want, or you can show as much as you want. It's up to you. Again, you hit X to get out of this. Following one is the Panabook. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with any of the other smart boards that are out there, Smart, Promethean. They all have their version of software that ties into the board. This one basically lets you use everything in a software that's proprietary to them, and It'll let you save any of the work that you have done offsite. For example, if you want to use this software at home so you could build up any type of lesson plan or something like that, you can install the software on your home PC and then use this to build your plans and then bring it in to this podium, to any of the other podiums that have the PanaBoard, and you could launch your plan from there. So you'll use all the tools that are up over here. If you want to do text and all that stuff, you can bring this in over here and set up your text and whatnot right there. So this is basically just for creating plans, launching them when you're here from any PC, again, that's connected to a PanaBoard. No, I do not. So if you'll notice right now, the tabs have disappeared. All that means is that it's been hidden. You just have to make sure that you select the button right here. It's, this right here is the icon for the PanaBoard. Just make sure the software is running, and that's when you'll see these tabs. Let's see what we got here. This is just to open up, I'm sorry, this is to open up any of your old PanaBook software. Sheets, this is new for this release. I have not played with this icon yet. As you can see, it's grayed out, so it's not usable at the moment. If I'm correct, I believe that's to work with some type of software that you guys don't have. The following icon is a capture. And what this will do is let me just populate it something real quick. That'll take a screenshot of what you're working on, and it'll save it anywhere that you want. So let's just say this is the test. We hit the screenshot, and it'll, if I could type correctly, it'll save whatever you just took a screenshot of. And then, if you go to your pictures, you should see it. There you go. So I took a screenshot, and it's still displaying the other one because I have not erased it. There you go. So that's what it does. It takes a screenshot. Finally, the last one right here that I'm going to talk about, the print function is only available if you actually have a printer connected, so I'm not going to speak of that. The recorder function will allow you to record everything, every stroke you make on the board, and let you play it back in the same order that you played it out. So if we start recording, let's see what I want. Okay, for some reason it's playing games with me. I'm sorry. There we go. All right, let's see. All right, so now I just created a video, and it'll do it in the same time lapse that we made our strokes in. Video test. Save. All right, let's see if we bring it up from here. So as you can see, it started with all the keystrokes, all the toolbar presses that I made. It records everything. So if you want to plan something out, let's say you want to give a math problem and you want to do, x times z equals y or whatever, to that effect, you can lay it out and plan it like that and then just replay it in the same way. And that way, it saves you from having to do it over and over and over and over again during class. Like if you're going to show the same thing to 5 different classes throughout the day, you could record it once and then just play it whenever you're ready to play again, so you can show your students what to do. And if need be, you could transfer it to somebody so that they can show the same thing in the same way that you laid it out. So again, it follows every keystroke that you make, every toolbar press. It basically records anything that happens on the screen. So as you saw, that it populated every time I pressed the toolbar, it showed up on the video recording, so on and so forth. As I said, the print button is not really for you since we have no printer selected here. If you did, it would ask you where you wanted to print something. Again, you don't have anything to print to, so that pretty much nulls that. Last thing I will talk about is the pen. Now the pen has all the markers and all the highlighters on there, as well as the eraser function. And the way that works is you select from the top where all the colors are on the wheel to where this light is, and you'll see that once I select the color, it turns green. I don't know if some of you guys can see that in the back. That basically means that whatever color is highlighted or selected is what it's going to draw over here. So as you can see, this is the purple highlighter. If I move over to, let's say, the black marker, it's going to write in the black marker. Now, if I go to the eraser, it'll erase. The one neat thing you could do with the marker that you cannot do with a couple of the other boards is that if you write with the marker over here and you want to erase something and you don't want to fumble around with the controls, what you can do is you can select the eraser from your toolbar over here, and now you can erase this and still write with this. I'm sorry. So if I would have selected the right tool, I'm sorry, black marker. So if you don't want to see this anymore, you could delete it, you could erase it, give it a second, and then you can come back over here and keep on with your lesson plan. So it'll work like that.
I'm sorry, just to get the pen to work, you started out with, you selected a marker or you just turned it on?
Just from here, turn it on. You select whatever tool you want to use, highlighter, marker, eraser, and as soon as the light comes on, it indicates that it is on that selected tool. So again, if I select, let's say, the red one, as long as the light is on, it means that it's active on that specific tool. All right, and then erase with your finger. And you could also work it the other way. If for whatever reason you feel like using this as an eraser and using your finger as a marker, you are more than welcome to do that. So let's say you write that. The only catch with this is that you have to give it a second between presses. So if I were to just do this and try to immediately follow up with this, it doesn't have enough time to recognize that you took your finger off or the pen off in time for you to select a different tool. So you just need to wait a second, and then you can erase.
Can you use the, if you're playing a video,
Okay?
and can you use the one that gives you a little hole to look in?
Oh, what will happen is if you try to use that, it essentially freezes the screen, so it would not work in tandem with any videos. It'll work with web pages or stuff like that where everything's stationary. If you try to use any of the toolbars or any of the tools from the toolbar, it'll pretty much freeze that screen.
So when you pull that line down over a part of the screen, could you use the other part of the screen for a different function?
So you're saying you want to put up the blind, and what, you want to write something on the other side of this?
You're right.
Okay, then you would do just that, it works. So, all right.
Could you block out, I mean, if you're showing a video and you want them to just focus on the part of the video, is there a way to do that?
If you just want them to focus on a part of the video.
Anything you use in the board would then freeze the video?
So
It
you're
would
trying,
have to be within that,
like that? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah. So it has to be within the recording of this. We're not-
It doesn't have to
not-
be, I mean, like right now, I just opened up a Windows Explorer, Windows Media Player. So Windows Media Player will work in tandem with this. There are certain things that it might not work with. I don't know what other video players yet. Are we connected on the internet?
That was
Yeah, we
my
are.
question, the switching back and forth between the web and that.
Mm-hmm.
Could you show us how to do that?
Or could you have a video on the screen or share one?
And we're allowed on YouTube, right? Some places don't allow us to. I'm sorry. That's a silly question. So are you trying to use this spotlight feature
Right.
like this?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's, sorry.
Now, if you made that smaller, could you have something on the other half of the board?
What do you, if I like, let's say, made this into like a smaller,
Right. I have this screen with the video, but on the other side, there are notes or something happening. Would that happen?
let's see, not sticky notes. It's like paint. Here, so you want to play this while making notes on the other side?
Yeah.
So you want to just use the pen, let's say?
But it has to be on, what is that board?
Oh, this is just paint. This is Windows paint that you can use, or
But you can just use the regular background.
she was just asking if you could have, like, let's say, I guess, Word or Excel, something open,
Right.
PowerPoint, something to that effect.
Let's say I have a slide presentation in PowerPoint, and we're talking about diabetes. And I have my slide on juvenile diabetes, but I want to show a movie on it. So instead of closing one and opening the other, could they be side by side? Yeah, they
There you
can.
go.
They can.
Wow,
So,
that is very cool.
It would've been nice yesterday.
all right. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, when you're saving, the system is saving to the system, there's no
Locally.
passwords on it, right, locally. There's no
Right.
password, so any of us going on, we don't have to start learning passwords to go into the system for what we individually saved, it's there for.
Typically, you would log in using your own credentials. So what happens is if you save something, it'll save to your documents folder. And if, I'm not sure if Brian can help me on this, if you guys have a network drive, it'll save all their files onto a network, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so it'll save to your network files location. And what that means is you can save it to your documents, they're your documents. She saves to her documents, they're her documents. You won't start sharing things unless you,
So when I open something on this, I would only be opening what I saved, not something that somebody else saved?
correct.
Oh,
Well, because like I said, you would log in with your own credentials.
okay.
So that would be your work.
You
Yes?
said that you could, I thought you said you can download the software and prepare something at home and then put it on your own Panabook?
Yes, Panabook is the software that comes with the board.
So we would have to, how would we download the software that comes with the board on our computer at home?
There's a couple of ways you could do it. You could either get a copy of the disk, you can download it from the website, or you can ask, I guess, one of the IT guys to give it to you on a USB stick, and you guys could just run that from home.
And that's compatible with,
It's compatible with Windows 7, Windows XP, I haven't tested it on Windows 8, but it's typically anything XP and above.
But not on the Mac.
Not on Mac. For Mac, it's a different story altogether, and I'm not sure that I would trust it to operate between systems.
Okay.
All right. Is there anybody else? Oh, sorry.
I got just one other question and then I'm done.
Okay.
When you did the movie and when you recorded what you were doing in
Mhm.
real time, and then you said, well, you can play it again later. I didn't really catch all the steps you went through to record what you were doing, and how long could you do that for? Like for 2 hours and it'll keep recording?
It all depends on the constraints of, I guess, your network folder. So if you don't have, let's say, a good amount of storage space available in the network folder, then it probably won't record everything. Worst case scenario, you could probably save it locally to each machine. But it'll go as pretty much as long as you leave it open for. So
Can you
if,
show me the steps, because I really, you're standing so your back is in front of me and I didn't catch all the steps.
okay, so what'll happen is this happens right there. You'll see that, and then you select your toolbar. You start making your notations. You just got to make sure that this is supposed to start by itself. So you'll start making your notations, and you'll see that. And this for good measure. So if you bring this up right here, I minimize it, and you bring this up, it'll tell you, you want to save this. Now, where do you want to save this? This is where I say you could download it or save it to a machine locally, which is what it's doing here, or if you want to save it to, your network drive. And typically what it does is it'll save it with the current date and time. As you can see here, it's March 19, 2014, and the time is 12:46. So if we save it right there, now you can go over here and look for it. Sorry. And look for it in your documents. And you see right here, that's the video right there.
I thought I saw you use Media Player on this one.
It is Media Player.
Yeah,
That's
so you
the.
opened it on Media Player.
No, I opened the location where it was stored. Media Player is already the default player for any videos and whatnot. So it'll open it up by itself.
So, I don't know, so you chose the recorder, you went up and you selected the toolbar. What did you do you selected your drawing thing, and then to save it, what did you press?
I brought up the tool right here, so we'll do this again. So we're going to start the recording. We're going to make our notations.
Right.
All right. Then we're going to go to the mouse, and we're going to bring this up. Okay, it disappeared on me. There you go. So you just double click it, and it'll bring you up at the Save To location.
I guess maybe it's where I'm sitting. Could you show again that icon of what you're giving?
Let's see. Yeah, it disappears after it's already used. So what we'll do is. No. So the icon,
Is that middle one on the bottom?
the icon is this player right here with the pause button.
Oh,
So once you bring that up, it brings up the Save To location. And then from there you can save whatever it is you got. And then again, wherever you save it is where you'll look for that. So in this case, this is the newer Save To, and nothing happened, so.
Great.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there tutorials available?
There are no tutorials at the moment. The best I can direct you to would be the user manual, unfortunately. I think you were there last time, right? I'm pretty sure that's what I said, too.
Because I've forgotten some things. It's
Yeah.
helpful for me to go back.
Right. Well, now I believe we have this recorded, so you guys could always touch up on this at a later time. Anything other than that, you can always give us a phone call. We're always available to that. Or you can always give us a shout out via email, and we'll get to you as soon as we possibly can.
To download from the Panaboard website,
Mhm.
we would need a code.
The software is absolutely free.
Oh.
So
So what do we, it's called Panaboard.
I'm not sure of the exact site, but I know that if you Google it, it comes up in the top searches. Let's do this real quick. Sorry.
So it's that first one there?
Yeah, it's the first one right there. And then it's this one right here, Elite Panaboard 442.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right. Were there any other questions? Somebody want to play around with the board and test something while I'm here? The main thing I tell everybody every time I come out and do a training seminar is play with it. There's absolutely nothing you can do to break the board unless you're taking a hammer to it, in which case you are really breaking the board. But software-wise, there's nothing you can do to this thing that will make it not work. You know, if worst case scenario you uninstall it, you just reinstall it. There's really nothing that you can do to it that will break the software, damage the software, or do anything like that. So just play around with it.
Yeah, if I bring my a Mac laptop in that has Word on it and it has the software for, will I be able to use it on this?
The connections to the board are going directly to the innards of this thing, so I would not recommend you try that. You can plug it in over here directly, but the only thing that the only catch that I have with the Mac software is that it's very watered down. They cater more to Windows environment than they do to the Mac environment. And by watered down, I mean you're not going to see all these toolbars as you do over here. You might not have the record function. I remember the last time I used it was a couple of months ago, but they didn't have the record function. They didn't have the capture function. So a lot of the things that you see here and you could use were not present in the Mac version. So that's why I try to stay away from Mac as much as I can and play with the Windows environment, because the Windows environment is a much more richer environment. You have more tools at your disposal than you do in the Mac environment. So you're more than welcome to, as you saw, you could find the software. It's in the same location. You could look for Panaboard software for Mac, and it'll populate. It's typically in the Panasonic.net website, so that's where you'll find it. Is there anything else? I thought I saw a hand. Somebody? Anybody? No? Okay. The video. So this is where, are we done with the Panaboard? We are. Okay, because this is where I don't want to get sidetracked. If we're done with Panaboard software, then I guess we can get on to other topics. So if anybody has any more questions pertaining to the Panaboard, anything, yes, no, maybe so. You guys are awesome learners. I'm going to tell you that much. Awesome students, because I typically have a lot of questions popping up left and right. You guys did half of the questions that I normally get. So, again, if you have any...
We have to play with it.
Yes, you do. You definitely have to play with it. And, again, you're not going to break it, so mess around with it as much as you want.
That's definitely.
A lot of what we do is we use PowerPoint, and we do video, and we do internet, YouTube. So we're going back to, I think the question about going back and forth between these mediums can be, time consuming. And I guess it's just a matter of using the board to...
Yes. Once you acclimate to it, you're not going to know how you did without it before. And that's what I tell everybody. As soon as you start playing around with it, you'll see how much easier it is to get from point A to point B without having to be in front of the computer. So again, play around with it. It is such an amazing tool to use, and it adds that level of interactivity with the class that you may not have with other types of, education.